broadcasting to you on WNN 1470 AM and TrentoVision.tv from the world's leading think tank laboratory, buried deep in an undisclosed building in hostile territory where evil and corruption is exposed. You're about to enter the Tom Trento Show.
All hands man your battle station.
Tom Trento heads United West, a group that says it defends Western civilization against the onslaught of Islam.
Good afternoon. It is 5 o'clock, October 8th, 2013, and the day is Tuesday. Thank you for joining us on TrentoVision.tv. Hello, everybody. I am CJ, not Tom Trento, and I am here today with our excellent guest host, Peter Feaman, broadcasting on WNN 1470 AM out of Boca Raton, Florida. You can listen to us from Miami all the way to Orlando, Florida. You can download the iHeartRadio app and get TrentoVision on your iPhone or other smart device and listen to it anywhere in the world that you would like.
Even Israel.
Even in Israel, if you get good reception. And you can watch us on TrentoVision.tv or on theteapartycommunity.com or on Bare Naked Islam. And if you fail to watch us through a minor oversight, I'm sure, because you were listening to us on the radio while you were in the car on the way home and you thought to yourself, gee, I'd really like to see what that show looked like today, you can go to the archives at youtube.com/TheUnitedWest and click on any show you want. We've got them all up there. We've done over 500 shows.
Wow.
And most of those 500 plus shows featured Tom Trento and J. Mark Campbell, and they're not here right now. And why is that?
Oh, because they are in Israel.
They are in Israel, that's right. Tom and Mark are in Israel. CJ and Peter and Damon and Invisible Mike
Wait a second.
are somewhere in a secret location in South Florida without them.
Wait a second. The Goyim are in Israel and the Jews are in Florida?
Of course.
What's the matter with that?
Of course.
I
And
thought you weren't going to let him in here anymore.
We're going to talk about that actually later this week when we have Alan Bergstein coming up on Wednesday, tomorrow.
I was with
and
him
then
yesterday.
we have, I know, I want to hear all about it, and Rabbi Eli Kavon. And they're going to tell us, why are these Jewish people in the United States so secular? The Christians love Israel, and the Jews,
Take it or leave it.
take it or leave it.
Oy vey.
Not so important.
Oy vey.
I'm not going
That's
at
not
my
a good
age.
thing.
But Tom and Mark are the goys of our dreams, and we would like to.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
Okay, you're the goy of my dreams also. Is
Thank
that
you,
better?
CJ. I appreciate that.
And before we get started, and you've got a whole list, and we're actually going to get
do.
to the script today because Peter's very good at that.
He's an attorney. He's
He's an
does
attorney.
What he says.
He's an attorney. He knows how to be efficient, right?
I was hoping you wouldn't admit that on the air. But
Do we have a report from the boys in Israel?
We most certainly do.
Okay, well, why don't we play that?
Let's bring it on up.
Okay.
Hi, Tom Trento, J. Mark
Here they
Campbell
are.
here on Monday, October 7th, 2013. And boy, are we tired. It has been non-stop, but this is our quick, short report to CJ, to Damon, to Mike, to Billy, to Karen, to Peter Feaman, to everybody that's been helping out back in Florida. This trip has been phenomenal. breaking news, one of the significant rabbis of Jerusalem just died, and they're preparing in Jerusalem for the funeral. They're saying 1 million people are going to be out in the city tonight. This is a little tiny city. 1 million people are going to be out. We're staying in the hotel. We have a general who was victorious in the 67 war in the battle with Jordan speaking tonight. This trip has been a unique blend of primarily national security concern and issues. One in particular, the settlement issue, and that's a joke. You think of settlements from the mainstream media in the West as campfires, campsite tenting. These are major cities that have 10, 20, 30, 40,000 people in them, but the UN and Europe is referring to these as settlements. We see that if these things get dismantled, Israel's giving up their national security boundaries that are essential to fight Islamic Jihad, which is not stopping, and we see that on this trip. Today, this morning, we went to the memorial. It was very moving. The Memorial Museum for the 7th Armored Division. These are the tankers, and we saw the tankers starting in 1948 with the French tank that didn't work, but it kept its croissants warm and its wine cold in this two-man goofy little tank. But that's what the Israelis got from France in 1948, like 5 of them. 2, the Mark IV Merkava, which is on the par with the Abrams M1A1 tank that the United States has. And we climbed all over and got the history of these things. This country is well prepared to defend itself. And whenever you talk to the soldiers or any significant individual, they say, yes, we have the armament to protect and defend ourselves for the first time in history in 2,000 years. But we also trust in the Lord because He has given us these victories. It's interesting how Israelis, particularly in the military, combine the providence of God with the power of their IDF and their IAF. All right, that's all for now. We got to take a little nap.
Oh, and we went to Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Yeah, yesterday we went to Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Temple Mount. That's not what the Temple Mount is, the mountain for the second temple for the Jews. That's not what the Muslims call it. They have an Arabic name for it. We went up there, and we will send you, we will show you all of this when we get back. But the internet connections and all of that make it a little difficult to do long reports. That's about it. Anything else? Hey, whoever's hosting, I think the Vaughns are hosting today. Have fun. You guys running the boards and all that, do well. Hello and goodbye from Jerusalem. We're in Jerusalem right now. We're going to take a nap and go eat. See you later. Bye.
I love it. I love these little reports, don't you?
He's very good.
Yeah, he's really good.
Jerusalem, the holy city.
You can tell that they're having a really, really good time. And there's about how many people on that trip with them?
A
few dozen?
About 40 or 50.
Yeah, about 40, 50 people with them on the trip.
That's a good
So
contingent.
Gaffney's there with them.
they're being deliberately vague about where they are and where they're going next
They're paranoid.
to protect
Well, I understand that. You told
the
me not to say where I am today. So,
to protect the identity of the people on the trip. They said, oh, I don't know, if we want to travel with that Tom Trento guy, we're going to be a moving target.
You know, I called my friends in Gaza and they have not been able to track down. I said, look, this is a good opportunity for you. And they have not been able to find Tom and company. I said, what is wrong with you?
CJ, can you call security?
Yeah. For those of you listening on the radio and for those of you watching who cannot see what's happening behind the camera, that was Imam Abdullah, I fool you, you fools, where we're going to fit him into a suitcase and have J-Mark carry him on the plane and take him to Israel so he could be the
Because
bad
they do not take my
handler.
passport.
But they wouldn't take his passport.
I
He
can
was
understand that.
turned
Was he on
down.
the watch list?
He was turned down, yeah.
Right.
They're definitely
Okay.
watching him,
Good.
which means they're
So-
watching us.
Okay, I'm used to that.
They're watching us. And we have some interesting subjects for today.
What do we have today, CJ?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm gonna do a segue.
Okay.
I'm gonna segue off of what
Is
Tom
that
was
something
just
you
talking
ride
about.
around on
Like
wheels?
in Savannah. We do that in Savannah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. I'm going to thumb a ride on a Segway. And Tom was talking about how well prepared the Israeli military is to defend their country.
I know, but here's the problem.
Versus our country.
Well,
Yeah, he didn't say that, but
when
that's what I'm
Iran gets the
thinking.
nuclear bomb, it doesn't matter how well prepared you are.
Well, we're not are we going to talk about that today?
It
I would
depends.
love to
Yeah, I
talk
don't know.
about this
I know you always
destruction.
want to talk about that.
See where it leads.
You always want to go there. But I was thinking to myself, gee, I wonder if the Israeli government had a shutdown, would they still be prepared militarily? Because I remember during sequestration and now during the shutdown, there's all this talk about how we won't be able to defend the country because of the government
The
shutdown.
Israelis could never have a shutdown. You know why?
Why?
Because Netanyahu is willing to speak to the opposition party.
Okay.
But when you have a president who won't speak to the opposition party, it's pretty easy to end up in a shutdown.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about this continuing shutdown. How many days are we in now?
Well, first of all, to say it's a shutdown is a misnomer.
Right.
It's not accurate. The government is not shut down.
Right.
The Democrats and the mainstream media like to use words like that to frighten the American people to give up and to allow the unbelievable, out-of-control spending to continue for
Right.
fear that if we don't, there'll be a shutdown.
Right.
Well, the Republicans called their bluff, and so far, what if they gave a shutdown and nobody came?
Oh, I was going to use that one.
You were?
You took my line.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
man.
I'll give you the next one.
But you delivered it well.
Let's try
You
this
del-
one.
What
Okay.
if they threw a government shutdown and nobody came?
Right.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that's shut down is what the Obama administration is choosing to shut down so as to inflict pain and fear on the American people. So they'll then call the Republicans and say, give
what
in.
evil bad guys
Yeah,
those
give in.
Republicans are.
You know.
They're shutting down things that don't even get shut down. They're actually spending extra money and manpower to shut down things that are naturally open.
Except it's not
I
the
mean,
Republicans.
how do you... No. I'm saying the government,
Right.
which comes from the White House.
That's
It's being
correct.
directed by the White House. Now, why does the White House want to stop people from going to see Mount Rushmore?
Why?
Or Yosemite
Politics.
Park?
Politics.
Or why are they putting barricades offshore in the oceans? Good grief. Does the government own everything? Do they own the water all the way out to the sea?
I'm sure it's got to be cheaper to close down 1,100 square miles of ocean than to just keep it open, no?
Sure. Yeah, that's
Right?
right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Obama thinks he does, apparently. He also thinks he owns the golf course where he plays on Andrews Air Force
Oh, he
Base.
does.
Tell
You know
me
why?
about this. Tell us about this.
Yeah.
This is a really great
'Cause
example of the
Obama's favorite
hypocrisy.
golf course is
Yeah.
on Air Force Andrews Base, obviously
Andrews
federal
Air
land.
Force Base is where?
It's
That's
in
California.
Virginia.
California, right?
Yeah,
He stops over
That's
there on
right.
his way to Hawaii.
that's right. But here's the thing. There's a lot of our military men and women that live and work in and around Andrews Air Force Base. And because they're men in uniform and women, they get to shop at the commissary.
At the commissary, so that's
So they
like
get the
tax-free.
Tax-free,
Right.
good prices on things. It's a fringe benefit that I think military people are
I
entitled to,
Totally agree.
that they get.
Totally.
But somehow, because of the government quote shutdown, that's closed. But on that same base, there are things that are still open.
Yeah, like?
Well, like the golf course where Obama plays. Somehow that's not affected by the shutdown.
Oh.
Hypocrisy at its best.
I see.
Okay.
Government for me and not for thee.
I would say that the Politburo elites in Washington are alive and well.
That's very apt.
While the
That's very.
taxpayer
Oh, look at that.
suffers.
We got a good picture on the screen there
There you
of the
go.
Politburo.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it reminds me of the cartoon I saw once. This big fat general from the Revolutionary War, dressed up with all his regalia, way overweight, and he walks up to the infantrymen, the enlisted officer, who is this emaciated, thin
Scrawny, right? He can't
figure.
afford to eat.
And the big general walks up and says, the people demand a leaner fighting force, so we're putting you on half rations.
Right. Right.
Okay.
That's
so
what it is. Yeah.
where the American working man and woman are on half rations, why the generals and the elites still play golf.
Well, they're also shutting down, I read, like arbitrarily, but of course it's not arbitrary. It's deliberately
It is.
vindictive and for show, and to have a very negative impact on the daily lives of American citizens. The Department of Justice shut down the Amber Alert
Right.
site on the Department of Justice website. But and they put a notice because of the government shutdown. I mean, they could have left it up and running. It's not like it cost them anything to leave it in place. It costs them money to take it out. But the First Lady's Get Up and Move and Groove or whatever, her plan for fitness for 5-year-olds or
that
something
website's
like that.
still up.
That website is up.
Well,
That website is up. Of course,
it's more important to
the
make sure kids
Imperial.
don't get fat than to find the ones that are missing today.
Exactly.
Well,
very good point.
That's a very good point.
That's a very good point. And the Imperial family even had to reduce
that.
their
Good news,
So-
Amber
Imperial
Alert
family.
site restored after online furor over government shutdown.
Oh, there you go. The people speak, and the people must continue to speak.
Yeah.
But let me ask
That's
you
a
a
perfect
question.
example right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect example. People got outraged, and the next day it's up.
Right.
Right.
But let me ask you, you
Power
use
to
the
the
words,
people.
you use the adjective, CJ, vindictive, purposeful, in connection with some of the things that are declared shut down.
Right.
What is your authority or source of information that leads you to conclude that it's purposeful and vindictive?
Well, because of all the things, because it's obvious what they're closing and what they're not letting us have. They're doing somersaults. They're spending money and time to shut things down that don't have to be shut down at all because they're already open. They don't cost anything to run, at least to leave them in place.
Right.
Okay, but they cost time and money and manpower to deliberately shut down. And what they're shutting down is something that a lot of people are going to see. If you shut down veterans memorials and cemeteries and national parks and state parks
Correct.
that abut national land,
Right.
okay, the roads that lead to them, there's absolutely no reason for closing the roads.
Correct.
Absolutely, because you're driving through a forest on your way to go somewhere else.
Correct.
Okay? And they're deliberately rerouting the American people so that they can say, look how this impacts you.
Right.
Just in case you're one of the 53 million people in this country who doesn't get a check from the government, so you might not notice that there's a shutdown, which there isn't, and everybody is getting their checks.
Correct.
Then it'll hit you in the face.
Right. And
Okay,
and, you know,
it's visible. The news crews go out there and they love to get a picture
Right.
of Yosemite being shut down, of national monuments
Right.
being barricaded. That
Right.
makes for good visuals, and then they can comment on it and say, and why is this? It's because those evil Republicans are
There you go
doing
again.
what?
Right. They want to shut the government down.
They
But-
want to shut the government
And
down.
you mentioned that I was an attorney in a court of law. In order to prove things, like you say, this is vindictive and purposeful, you want to have eyewitnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Republican National Committee actually received phone calls from employees of the National Park Service.
Oh,
who
really?
said that they were specifically instructed to make it as painful as possible.
Wow.
And we have.
Did you publish those?
We have
or-
live testimony, and we have to go through their lawyers to get permission to publish their names. But we
Right.
have employees of the National Park Service saying
Right.
that was their instructions.
And your connection to the RNC, for those of you who might not know Peter Feaman, and I don't know how you could fail to know Peter Feaman, but he is the National Committeeman representing the state of Florida to the RNC.
Well,
You're the only one, Peter. The only one in the whole state.
He's the only committee
true.
man.
There is one national
Oh,
committee
very
man from
important.
each state.
That's right.
And I go up to the RNC. In fact, I'm going to Washington in a couple of weeks.
Right.
And I do want to say this. This is a little off topic, but a lot of people get the impression that when Senator John McCain or Mitch McConnell speak, they're speaking for the Republican National Committee. I want to make it clear that that's not the case. They are speaking as senators from their state,
Right.
and their views do not necessarily reflect those of the Republican National Committee. And that's very important because the people hear those pronouncements on Face the Nation, and they
Right.
think that's what the Republican Party stands for.
Right.
Not true.
Well, why don't you guys spend some money to tell us what it is that you do stand for? Because I think that a lot of people just don't know.
I'm glad you brought up money
Yeah,
because the Republican National Committee is setting records in fundraising.
right.
And you know what? We have $12 million in the bank, but we're saving it up
You're saving it for?
for
Why don't
the
you put out
anti-Hillary Clinton
Forget Hillary
campaign.
Clinton, you know.
Forget
she
her?
is, yeah, you know what?
Why?
She is so 2 years from now.
Okay.
Okay, why don't we talk about what's happening right now? The perception is of the Republican Party in the media that
right.
everybody picks up
Right.
is you Republicans are evil,
Right.
and because of you, I won't be able to go to the doctor or cash my Social Security check or whatever it is, and they hate you guys, and you need to be on TV and radio, like our show even,
Correct.
and tell people
Do you have
what
spots that you sell?
what this shutdown is and where it's really coming from.
Well, we had that discussion actually last weekend, and we are buying public service announcements, and they will be coming out very shortly.
Will they be coming
I
out?
have an order form for you right here.
Will they be coming out before
Thank
the
you.
shutdown
I'll be
is
sure to pass it on
over?
to Washington.
Before it's over?
Oh, this isn't going to be over for a long time.
How long do you think this will last?
This is going to be indefinite. I mean, there may be some spending resolutions in the short run, but this is the Republicans now realize we're in it for the long haul. We will either get this out of control government spending reined in,
Yeah.
okay, or we do not deserve to hold the offices that we hold.
I'll tell
Well,
you
some
what.
of us already
neither
think so.
neither party
Yeah.
will be remaining if
Yeah.
the spending does not get checked up
I
soon.
mean, it is
Yeah.
out of, but that's one of our core values is limited government and government spending only where necessary. And we need to get back to those core values. And with the help of the Tea Party, we are. Because with the help of the Tea Party, we're starting to elect congressmen and senators who understand that and will not go along just to get along up in Washington.
Well, that is very
Look at
interesting.
Senator Cruz,
That's very interesting
Marco
that you
Rubio,
bring up the Tea
Rand
Party.
Paul.
Because we had a very excellent author on the show a few weeks ago, and I think you know him, Trevor Loudon.
Yes.
Okay, and he's been touring around the United States and mostly speaking to different Tea Party or Tea Party affiliated groups, people who are conservatives who don't feel like they have a home in the Republican Party. They're not necessarily card-carrying members of a party that says Tea on it, but that's the values they identify with. And he's telling them, forget your scorched earth policy. What you want to do is, your only outlet right now, realistically, in the United States, unless you really just want to let it all crash down and start over from nothing, is you have to work within the Republican Party, which means you have to take the Republican Party back. Those of you who have been sitting out politics, who, you come out and you
Correct.
vote for your single issue every couple of years or whatever it is, and maybe you don't even come out and vote for 4 or 6 years or something like that. You have the insight, you have the common sense, and you have the values that you want in the Republican Party. If you're not active in the process,
Correct.
then the people who have already gone native, the people who really are Washington, New York, and Los Angeles and have nothing to do with the people in the rest of the country, they're going to control everything. And when you send them to Washington, you get the same thing that you would if you had nothing but Democrats in Washington.
Correct.
There's no difference. So,
I agree with that. And as part of the false narrative in Washington that the Democrats try to promote is that somehow the Tea Party is a small, extreme
Right.
part of the Republican Party. What
radicals.
What the folks in Washington, the Democrats, don't get is that I believe the sentiment of the Tea Party in terms of getting this behemoth called the federal government under control is the majority view of people in the United States,
Right.
without question.
Right.
And so I would say to those of you that do fear an out-of-control federal government,
Yeah.
come to the Republican Party. That is where we can do the most change
Yeah.
and affect the most
And there
good.
are plenty of people who are in the Republican Party who, frankly, they've been there too long, or they're really, I don't know why it has an R after their name. It really should be a D or,
That's correct.
or an I or
That's why we need term limits.
or a do not know or something
Right.
like that.
Or,
but
I call it IAD.
IAD,
Yeah.
which stands for?
I am dumb.
Oh, no.
Oh, like this guy?
Yeah.
Oh, no, there you go again.
Oh, look.
Oh, look who that is.
Senator
Yeah.
McCain, I support terrorists. We have to always respect Senator McCain for his service to this country.
Absolutely,
We can never
we
forget
do.
that.
Absolutely.
However,
but we would
I
like
do
to
feel
forget
that-
some of his
yeah.
current services
Yeah.
to this country.
I think he is out of touch with mainstream America.
Yeah.
And he certainly is not informed on issues pertaining to Islamic supremacy, their role in the revolution in Syria.
Yeah.
as
Or,
being-
and
Hey,
Egypt.
Allah
Part of-
Akbar means thank God.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
What is
Let's
that
all
all
thank
about?
God together.
Yeah.
Okay. But at any rate, getting back to the government,
Yeah.
you're going to now hear the debate move from the shutdown, because that didn't work
Right.
by the Democrats, to now
It's a
default.
fake shutdown anyway.
It's a fake shutdown, but now you're going to hear default. So they went, the first crisis they used to scare the American people was the sequester.
Right.
Okay.
Remember how ridiculous that was?
We found out
We
that.
can't cut 1%.
Right,
We'll
there you go.
die.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's your first canard.
Right.
Okay.
Canard.
Yeah. What's that?
You're taking all my words.
Well, if
Where
that's
is
all I
that
take.
duck?
You should feel lucky.
Where
I am
is
a
that
lawyer.
duck?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So
tell us about.
So that was
okay,
the
then
first
the shutdown
false
is.
narrative. The shutdown.
Yeah.
It's not a shutdown. Another
It's
false
not a
narrative.
shutdown, another
so
false
now the
narrative.
false narrative you're going to hear is default.
Right.
If we don't agree, oh, there's a nice canard. No, wait, duck. Okay. You know what
Give
they
us our
say
French lesson.
in France? In France, when they shoot at you, you know what they say? Canard. Whatever. Okay, so now we're going to hear default. That's the next scare tactic that
Right.
the Democrats or the big government people in Washington are going to roll out to
Right.
somehow scare the people into cowing to this out of control spending. And they're going to say, and Obama's already said it, if you don't pass an unrestricted continuing resolution to spend money, we're going to default.
Okay.
More scare tactics, more false narrative.
This is the same government that encouraged the whole country to default on their mortgages because taxpayers
Right.
who actually work were going to pick up the tab, right?
So when we come back from the break, we'll discuss in
When we
detail
come back
how
from
that's
the
a false
break.
narrative. Boom.
He's kidding.
Yes.
He's
There's
kidding.
no break,
he knows
right?
Can I
yeah,
get
you don't
you
get
a-
a break.
You want to talk about that now then?
Yes.
Why
can I
that,
get you
that
a
we don't
water,
have a
False
Esquire?
narrative.
No, we can do at 30 minutes past the hour. You're listening to TrentoVision on 1470 AM WNN. We are here with Peter Feaman,
Admitted.
admitted Peter Feaman, National Committeeman representing the state of Florida to the RNC.
Correct.
He's also a very famous and popular and excellent local attorney in South Florida and a best-selling author of.
Oh, wait. Here
You
it
just
is.
happen to have one of your books up.
This is my second book.
This is your second book. The
Correct.
first one sold out.
It did.
Yeah.
Of course, I only had 5 printed.
No.
So, no. it's
I
not
gave
true.
away more than 50.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
you did. Anyway, the next nightmare.
What was the first one called?
Wake Up America.
Wake Up America, and
Right.
they didn't, so you had to write a sequel called The Next Nightmare, which
Exactly.
actually is the nightmare that we're living
Listen.
in now. It's
Yes.
not even in the future.
Correct. If somebody's house is on fire and you try to wake them up and they don't,
Yeah.
get out a garden hose and start spraying them down to get them up. That's what this was. I shook people. They didn't wake up. This is the garden hose or the fire hose.
How's that going?
Because now the house is on fire.
Now the house is on
It
fire.
depicts the fall of the United States as a result of what Obama will do in his second term. If you pick up and read the book, you'll see that some of the things that are happening right now today that I wrote about a year and a half ago are
Right.
part of that scenario.
Oh my gosh. All right.
So-
Well, that was an excellent break. Thank you very much.
You're
and now
welcome.
we could get back to
Yes.
the false
A word from your
narrative
sponsors.
of a default.
Yes.
Aren't we having fun?
So
Mr. Producer,
important.
are
I
you
don't wanna-
having fun?
I'm loving this.
Are you
know,
having
I was
a
an
swell
economics
time?
major, so this is right up my.
I don't want to bore people with numbers.
No, I was an economics major,
But,
and I
yeah.
traded bonds. So
Okay.
this is. I love this stuff.
Okay.
I could talk economics and the falseness of this all day with you.
And
In
that
fact,
other guy-
I gave you a great analogy before the show started. If
Which
you'd like
one
me
was
to
that?
repeat it.
You repeat that, please.
The government threatening to not pay their debt
Right.
is like the guy who lives in a $2 million house in Boca deciding not to make his mortgage payments on that $2 million house, but still choosing to pay for his S-Class Mercedes, his wife's Jaguar,
Right.
his kid's private school, and his house down in the Keys, make all those payments, but decide, I don't feel like
Good
making
point.
my primary mortgage payment.
Good point. So the money's
Right.
coming in. It's just not enough to pay for everything, so you have to prioritize what you're going to pay first.
That's right.
And the first thing
and
you're
where
going to
is
do
the
is
money
pay your
coming
mortgage.
from?
Tax
Okay.
revenues.
Tax.
It's taxes.
Let me tell you.
Guys, you pay taxes, $225 billion a month coming into the
It
federal
is.
government.
That's correct. You know why that is? Number one, sequester, cut government spending, but the tax revenues have increased because of Obamacare.
Right.
So you have a lot of tax money that comes in every month.
Right.
And if you just prioritize the spending, there is plenty of money. There is plenty of money for the government to pay its bills. Absolutely plenty of money. And I don't want to put everybody to sleep with numbers, but let's do it on an annual basis.
Okay.
All right.
Well, even a monthly basis.
Yeah, well, but then I have to divide my numbers by 12. That's too hard.
Okay.
All right. So we have.
Can you hear me okay? Is my
we're
mic
pick-
all right?
We're picking something up in the background. I'm trying to figure out what it is right now.
Oh,
Am I
okay.
good?
Well, it might
Okay.
be. Here's the thing: a little over $3 trillion comes into the government every year. That's a lot of money.
It doesn't come in. It gets taken by the government.
Okay.
Let's just say that.
Well, I want to use non-inflammatory terms so that people will,
oh, you want to be passive
get it.
about taxes?
I want to be passive aggressive.
Okay.
All right. So now, $3
$3 trillion.
comes in.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, 237 billion is what's necessary to pay our debt, our interest on the debt.
The interest on the debt.
Okay? So that's all. That's all you need,
all you
not the
need?
default. So that still leaves $2.8 trillion to run the rest of the government. Now, let's take that money. So you can see the interest on the debt is a very small portion of the tax revenue.
And it gets
So
paid
we're clearly not
automatically
gonna
off the
default.
top, doesn't
Right,
it?
paid off the top,
Yeah.
and then you still have $2.8 trillion. Now, people say, well, Medicare will go broke.
Well, hold on.
No?
It's 8% basically.
It's 8%.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
about
you're the
8%.
economist, you do
Yeah.
the numbers.
Well, that doesn't take an economist. It's
Okay.
a
Yeah.
calculator.
Well, I
Yeah.
knew that there's a reason I had to stay in law school because I couldn't add or subtract. So we
It's
did that. So you take care
So
of that.
basically, they're
Right.
saying they want to threaten the full faith and credit of the United States. What should be the very first thing
Correct.
paid is
Correct.
the debt. Just to say, hey, I'm good.
Well,
Should be
wait a second.
priority number
Not a
one.
problem. Because the money's still
Okay,
coming in.
and it's only 8% of your tax revenues.
Correct.
Hold it. There's one point I want to make about this to you guys, and that is when you say paying the debt, you're not paying the debt. You're paying the
The interest on the debt.
on
Your interest
the
on the
debt.
debt.
There's
The
nothing
debt
coming
still,
off, right.
the debt still is 18 trillion.
Right, but
17
that's
and
a
change,
different
right.
issue.
That's
Let's
neither
just
here nor
tackle
there.
That's
one
neither
problem.
here nor there. The national debt.
That's what
What's
the
18
we don't
Democrats
talk
think.
about
What
that,
is
right?
$18 trillion among friends?
That's what the Democrats
What's
think.
18 trillion amongst ourselves and the next four
But let's stay
generations of
focused.
Americans?
Yes, back to
All
the
right.
ridiculousness.
All
Your
right.
Honor, Your
I
Honor,
thought
let's stay
that was
focused
ridiculous.
on the issue, Your Honor.
All right.
Okay. All right. So we have 8%
I love it
off
when
the
you're
top
lawyerly.
pays to Don't get sexual on me, okay?
I said
So,
lawyerly.
Oh, lawyerly.
His
Oh,
wife is
gotta
watching.
Get my earpiece fixed. All right. So now, what are we going to do with the other 92%? Correct?
Obama
Well,
phones.
we know the first thing, Social Security. All right. So we have to honor our Social Security obligations, right?
Why do we have
Okay,
to?
of course we do. So we do the math on this. That's 848 billion a year. So whatever that is, we make sure that gets paid.
Are you
It's
keeping
about
track
a
of
third.
this?
It's roughly a little less than a third. It's about 30%.
Okay, so we got that done. Next, Medicare, 505 billion. So we take care of
About
that.
Holy cow.
16% off the top of my
So
head.
we're talking about so far we're at like $1.3 trillion just
Exactly.
in Social
What's the
Security
military?
and Medicare.
We take care of Medicaid, we take care of defense, we take care of the
Where's defense in
veterans.
Defense on
here?
there.
Defense is 582 billion.
So defense is actually less than Medicare?
About the same.
It's about the same.
Okay, now
No wonder they have to close the
you
commissary.
take care of the veterans, you pay all of those obligations, which we understand are obligations that must be met. That still leaves $500 billion, $500 million.
Where'd I put that $500 billion? I can't find it.
Right, exactly.
Bobby, check the closet for that $500 billion, would you?
Go to
It's in the
Solyndra.
knipple.
Solyndra has it. I go back to the Solyndra.
Oh my gosh!
folks.
Did
I
you
think
hear that
they've got
someone
it.
praised? What someone in the
Yeah.
in the administration, Department of Energy, last week praised the Solyndra debacle
Oh
last
my
week.
gosh.
Is that before or after that person got arrested
was-
for the consumption of illegal substances?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
Mind-altering
my gosh.
substances.
Yeah, but they
Really?
tripping.
Are you kidding me?
You'd be tripping.
So now you start to have a debate upon what you're going to do with the rest of that money while you try to come up with a budget, and then you can have a real debate.
And a party.
Right. So
Here's
that's
a good
the
quote
myth.
for you.
That's the myth of the default. The money is coming in. The money will continue to come in, and we can pay those obligations. We will not default.
And there's for the Treasury or for all these political appointments on the Democratic side and the Democratic Congress, members, to suggest that this would create a default is absolutely a scare tactic beyond belief.
Correct.
We could pay the interest on that debt 10 times over.
Correct.
Okay? So that is not what you do unless their goal is to bring the whole system down, which if you are on the far left,
Some people
Yeah, that might be.
like Obama used to be, or at
Right.
least his roots.
Used to be?
Listen, I'm not going to say that's what the Democratic Party wants, but the extreme left,
I'm going to get to Obama in a minute.
there is no doubt that the extreme left would love to see the system fall. The one way to make sure that the whole system falls down real quick is to not pay China their interest money on our U.S. treasuries. I used to trade U.S. treasuries for a living, okay? I am very aware of just what, just a rumor of someone's credibility, of their ability to pay, how that can affect interest
Right.
rates. So what they're doing by saying, by merely threatening that we could possibly not pay, could affect the interest rates. Now, if you watch what the interest rates are doing, no one in the real market believes this is going to happen.
Correct.
Because
Right.
otherwise our rates would have looked more like Italy, Spain's, and what happened
Correct.
to
Right.
Greece.
And our
So
stock
no
market would have
one in the real world that actually has money and plays these games in a big way believes we're going to, because interest rates are still historically low. Not as low as they were a year ago, but historically low.
Correct.
Right.
So if there was any real like, oh, we can't do it, instead of the 10-year yielding you under 3%, it would be over 10%.
Okay,
Correct.
you're getting a little
Plus, the
wonkish
stock
now.
market would have already reacted. And they
Yes.
haven't. So
Basically,
here's
what
the
they're
deal.
trying to do is they're trying to scare us into thinking that our money is not going to be worth anything.
Right.
Because that's the end result of the U.S. not paying its debts, isn't it?
Yes.
Then the U.S. dollar isn't worth anything.
Correct.
And if the U.S. dollar isn't worth anything, then you can't go to Publix and go shopping
Well, the globalists want an international monetary currency,
because
not the U.S.
Bitcoin.
because the really big one.
But here's the thing.
Because
This
that
is-
worked so well for
Let's-
those who
let's-
are tied to the euro.
Let's bring it back to the default so that
The
your
government
viewers
is
and your
lying to
listeners.
us, is what's happening in this whole fake
Yes.
sequester, shutdown, default, all of it. The
Correct.
government is just plain lying to
Exactly.
us. And the people in the Republican Party who are trying to fix this are not really getting that message out to the people.
I think it's starting. You see the polls are starting to shift. This is scare tactic version 3.0. Comes back. Scare tactic 1.0 was the sequester. Scare tactic 2.0 is the shutdown. Scare tactic 3.0 now will be the default. And if I have anything to say about it, I will encourage our Republican leaders in both the Senate and the House to stay strong, stand your ground. You're on the right side of the American people. You're on the right side of history. And history will prove that by standing strong now, you'll save this country for the next generation. Because right now, if we don't change things, we may get by and kick the can down the road for another few years.
Right.
But your kids, my kids, your grandchildren, my grandchildren will inherit a country that may not even exist. It's not even inheriting a country with less opportunity than we had. It's about inheriting a country that will not exist because of our spending that is absolutely out of control. It.
We like that. That was really good. Is that going to be
Good.
a standalone
That
video?
will be a standalone. That's
Again?
the second one in a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
I really
good.
like
Email it
that.
to me so I can send it to my mother.
Yeah.
So
Your mom has internet?
Anyway, so now what?
Your mom does internet?
My mom does internet. She does the big internet in the sky. She
Oh,
passed
I'm
away.
sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
Okay.
My mom was my biggest cheerleader, though, so we remember her
Okay, well,
fondly.
we'll help. We'll pick up the pom-poms for you,
my
Peter.
mom was like you guys. She was a balcony person.
She was a Jew.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
You know what a balcony
basement
person
people
is?
versus balcony people, right?
Yeah.
I do know that.
Okay. People that sit up in the balcony of life, look down at the competitors in the arena. Instead of booing, they cheer. They cheer them on. They say, "Come on, you can do it. Keep going. Don't give up." That was
Yeah.
my mother.
Yeah.
Bless her heart.
Oh, that's really nice.
And may God rest
you
her
need
soul.
to. Can you keep that in with his little video clip? Because that's really nice. And chicks dig it when you say nice stuff about your mom.
Really?
Yeah, that's what they tell
Awesome.
me.
But
Yeah,
I'm married,
That's what
so
they tell me.
it's all right.
But still, you can be a likable person. It'll be good for your
Okay.
for your law practice. You'll be
Well,
more trustworthy. to
Speaking of a
people.
likable person, there I was yesterday at Huntington Lakes condominium complex in West Del Rey
Segue alert.
amongst the Hadassah Women's Group,
Yes.
and thinking that my charm would carry the day.
Yes.
I was with Alan Bergstein. I understand he's going to be a
He's
guest
gonna
on your
be
show
guesting
tomorrow. Very
yes.
good. And Alan and I represented the Republican side of the, quote, forum.
Right.
And on the other side was State Representative Schlossberg. His chief of staff was there. You know, the guy who gave out the pastrami sandwiches?
The chief of staff of a state senator.
No,
was
state representative.
a state representative's
Yes.
chief of staff.
Yes, he was there, along with...
Because this was a high priority audience for him, I guess.
Along with Senator Nan Rich, Democrat who is running for governor.
Oh.
And so she was there to debate the issues such as the Stand Your Ground law, Obamacare, which they actually still believe could work. I mean, there's some people that would call black white even when it turns black in front of their very eyes, and they'll still say, "Look at that white picture." It's unbelievable.
Right. Are you going to believe your lying eyes?
Yes.
I have heard
Right.
some fantastic quotes from people that supported it, you know, your typical liberal people, and now
Right.
they're getting the their new insurance bills.
Right.
And like,
Yeah.
well, I wanted health insurance for everyone, but I didn't think I was gonna have to pay for it.
Right, of course, as long as somebody else pays
I
for
didn't.
it.
But wait
I
a minute.
I can't tell you how beautiful it is to see.
Right.
You know, that these people, that's how it, that is totally the liberal left mentality. They think with their hearts, not with their heads. Free healthcare. That's great.
That sounds
because obviously there is a healthcare tree. That all you have to do is plant a healthcare
There you
tree and
go,
come
that's
back 2
right.
years later, and it's sprouting insurance policies on it, and it didn't cost it. All you had to do was water it and let it get some sunlight.
Sprouting doctors.
Fantastic.
Well, no, you know what they're going to do is they're going to import, they're going to have to import doctors to fill
That's right.
They're already doing it.
the losses. They're going to import them from Muslim countries.
Oh,
I will
That's
not
what
treat
they're
the
going to
woman.
do.
Oh,
We will not treat women.
That's
we will
what
not
they're
treat
going to.
the
I bet
kuffar.
you anything.
Okay.
I bet you anything.
Well, I tried to have a debate on moral grounds with the ladies yesterday, but
I
the
thought you were an
message wasn't
attorney.
getting across.
I thought you were an attorney.
He's actually really.
I think I see what you're saying.
He's actually really ethical.
Yes.
It's shocking.
It is, well, never mind. So here's the debate that I wanted to have, and I
Yeah.
was not allowed. People say that there should be free health care.
Right.
Any service or goods that depend upon the labor of another,
Right.
if you demanded it should be free, then you're
Right.
demanding the enslavement of the people who provide that good or service.
Thank you.
You have
slavery.
you have no
we're
moral
opposed to
authority.
that.
You have no moral authority whatsoever to demand for free the goods and services produced by another.
Right.
It's immoral. The Bible says a man or woman who does not work shall not eat. It's a biblical precept to understand that you must work in order to eat. It's biblical. If we have a society where people think they're entitled to eat without working, we'll eventually collapse. As you've seen with every socialist, communist regime in the history of the world, it eventually falls upon itself because you cannot demand, as a matter of morality, the goods and services of another for free. It's immoral, it's not right, and it's doomed to failure, which is the beauty of the capitalist system of free trade. I work, I get money, I exchange that money for something of value. That person produces that thing of value, accepts money for what he's produced. It's free, it's what's made this country the greatest, freest, most prosperous country in the history of Earth. And if we change that, we're doomed to failure.
Yay, he did it again, twice
What
in
is
one
this guy
show.
doing? He's
Oh
a
my
walking
gosh.
soundbite.
I
You
tell
guys
you
are
what.
you guys are great balcony people.
Yeah, I tell
This
you what.
guy
Really
is a-
good balcony
Are you
people,
sure
right?
they
Hey.
don't have bigger plans for you than just the state committeeman?
Who is they?
National, the party?
Republicans.
Just the national committee man? Excuse
I
me.
mean,
I'm telling you,
I'm
man.
telling you,
Tom
I'm
Trento
thinking
better
elected
look
office
out.
here.
You know, I'm happy for Tom to have this show. It's not a problem. And I'm happy to sub for him when he's
Let
in
me
this
tell
show.
you something. Rance Priebus is going to take a look at some of these outtakes, and these should be part of your national campaigns.
I mean,
Some of the stuff you're going over, it's really stuff that your stale Republican of the last 20 to 30 years wouldn't
Yeah.
have the cojones to say.
That's right.
Okay, it's reality.
right.
Yeah.
And God forbid you'll make Democrats melt. Okay, be throwing like water on a witch.
Oh, what
Okay,
a
you can't
Is that,
argue.
the,
Again,
is
it
that
goes
the Wicked
back-
Witch of the West? CJ, I never thought you were capable of
Isn't
that.
You have to
Good.
hear her cackle.
Yeah.
No, I won't
Okay.
do it.
It just goes back to what I just said a few minutes ago, and that conservatives argue with their brains, liberals argue with their hearts. And if you want to make an argument based on emotion,
I don't.
if you want to make an argument based on emotion, you're not going to win.
You know what? I used to think that that was correct. I used to think that they were arguing with their hearts. But what they're doing is so hypocritical and
Yes.
selfish.
Selfish is the word.
It's so selfish.
Yes.
It's whatever makes that person feel good about himself.
Correct.
I'm going to drive an SUV. I'm going to fly in a private plane. I'm going to be, the Al Gore gas guzzler guy,
Right.
and make everybody else save on energy so that I can live this lifestyle. That's not saving the planet from your heart with your heart.
That's correct.
That
Let
is
somebody
being
else
a
do it.
selfish
That's a hypocrite
pig.
is what it is.
That is
Leftists
being
are
a selfish
hypocrites.
pig and saying, I'm going to do what I want, and the rest of you plebes, you're going to do what I think is best for you.
Correct. It's
That is
elitism.
nothing to do with an argument from the heart.
That's
I'm
right.
sorry.
That's right back
They
to
frame
the
it-
golf course. At
They
the
frame
Army
it
base,
that
right
way.
there.
Correct.
Right
They-
back to it.
They paint
hypocrisy.
these halos around
Correct.
themselves that are entirely false.
I'll give
It's
you an
all
interesting
one big lie.
statistic because these are more facts, not opinion. You know, the Republican Party as well as the Democrat Party, we do voter profiles. And so we...
Profiling's illegal.
Yes, we profile. For example, we find out who's more likely to donate to charity, Republicans, Democrats, or
yeah.
independents, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Republicans overwhelmingly, by a ratio of about 2 to 1, give
It's
more
way
to
more
charity
than, that because
than Democrats.
It was like 80%
Right.
who identified as Republicans gave to charity, and it was 20% or something like
Right.
that of the Democrats.
Peter, I
overwhelming.
have a question on charity. When I remember having to do with the tax codes when Obama first came in, and they want, and it's still their plan is to reduce the tax benefits to charitable donations.
Yes.
What possibly? Why would you want to do that? Explain to me the
I can explain
political.
that.
Oh, I
because
can
I
tell
think
you
I have
too.
my ideas. I would like your opinion of why the president of the United States and his filthy Democratic Party wanted to make it to get rid of the tax benefits for a wealthy person or a not so wealthy person to give a donation to a charity such as a hospital, and a lot of these were for medical research, and I think it also ties back into Obamacare. I'm done asking.
You want to go first?
I'll go first if you want.
Go ahead. I'll play
the
cleanup.
The reason why is because this president, President Obama, his advisors, the leftists of the Democrat Party who control the party, they do not want any other game in town but theirs. They want to control everything. If you're giving money to a charity, to a church or a community kitchen or something like that, you're taking away from the government, stealing from us, and giving it back the way that they see fit.
That's correct.
You're getting in the way of the government if you're actually taking care of yourself.
And that's good, and it goes further than that. The whole progressive philosophy of government is that we know better than you do.
Right.
A, on how to spend your money, and B, the corollary to that, how to give your money away.
Right.
So therefore, you shouldn't have that tax deduction because we know better how to give to the poor. We know better what charities are deserving. So again, it's the individualist philosophy versus the collectivist philosophy.
Right.
The progressives believe in collectivism. Republicans believe in the power of the individual, the freedom of the individual, which is what this country was founded upon. We had to have a war to break away from the collectivist philosophy, which was the King of England, King George.
No, the real collectivist philosophy is Stalin's
Karl Marx.
Russia.
Right, Karl Marx.
Stalin's USSR.
Okay.
That's what the real collectivism is
So
all about.
freedom got a good boost around the world between 1776 and 1917, and then the evil philosophy of socialism
Wilsonianism.
brought collectivism back.
Yeah.
And we've been fighting it ever since. And
Yeah.
it seems that every
And we're
generation
losing.
we have to reteach the American people about the values of freedom, the values of the individual versus the overreaching government. And so what we have to do, Ronald Reagan did it. We need another leader and a spokesperson like Ronald Reagan who can, again, re-educate the people, as we have to, it seems, every generation, because our public schools don't, about the value of the
Well,
individual versus the government.
That's a good point.
Peter
Pete.
Feaman for president. You heard it here first.
That's a very excellent point, and I think the progressives are onto you with that approach, because one of the things they have really focused on in the last generation or two in this country is the public schools, to make sure that the population really is completely ignorant
Correct.
of what this country is, completely unable to be discerning, to do
Correct.
critical thinking,
Correct.
to read and write, the basics that help you make a decision,
The dumbing
so
down
that
of
you can
America.
be informed of what your government is doing to you. They're making sure that if you're under 40, you can't do it.
Right.
You can't do it.
And that's why
55 after the hour, by the way.
55, so our
Yeah.
time grows short.
Yeah,
but
how many
nonetheless,
minutes
it's
do we
still
have?
critical.
You need to write it down for
That's
me.
why there's so much objection to Common Core. and what's
right.
going on. The whole concept of a top-down educational system,
Right.
that people in Washington somehow know better how to educate our children as opposed to our local school boards, but most importantly, mom and dad. Nobody knows better how to educate our children than mom and dad. The government through Common Core wants to take that away, and we have to oppose that at every level. We need to reinstitute the importance and value of mom and dad educating their children,
Wait a minute.
not some bureaucrat out of Washington.
Wait a minute, Peter. They're not just doing away with mom and dad at the school. That's also part of their plan. I'm glad you brought that up, because they're doing away with mom and dad. For years and years
Yes.
and years, they've been pushing abortion and single motherhood on everybody. And if that didn't weaken the Judeo-Christian fabric of this country enough, now there's gender nullification.
Right.
Now there's gay marriage, gay adoption, be whatever sex you feel like today. In public life, in schools, in the military, wherever you are. So there is no mom and dad.
You can use whatever bathroom you want.
The family where you would get your structure and your standards and your beliefs is being wiped out deliberately in this country, and that means that we will all be getting our directions, all our input, all our thoughts from the government, the small group of people who think that they know better than we do, and they will know better than we do.
Well, they went to Harvard. They know better than you.
Yes, I was very dismayed to learn that Ted Cruz went to Harvard.
I know, wasn't that disappointing?
What a waste of an education.
I mean, I grew up in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Okay, I had a number of classmates go to Yale, at Brown, places like that. I know the type of indoctrination they get there.
Yes, Peter, I was wondering, this weekend.
Would you like to come have cocktails with Muffin and I?
Stover at Yale. But at any rate, I went to Union College in Schenectady, New York, a small liberal,
Liberal arts college?
Liberal arts type college. Well, they had a great engineering program. But then I went to law school down here in Florida, and I saw the light, and I've been here ever since. So there you have it. Oh, I just disclosed what state we're in.
No,
sorry.
everybody
They all
knows
know
we're
what
in
state.
Florida.
Oh, they know we're in
Here, I'm
Florida.
going to plug your law center real quick as well. Your law office. There we go.
Oh yeah, if you want to get in touch with Peter.
Peter M. Feaman, PA. It's www.feamanlaw.com. That's the one.
Yeah,
I don't
that's the
email
one.
myself very often.
I
so
know,
it's hard
I
to
know.
remember.
That sounds good. So how many minutes do we have? Because my clock is off.
We have 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
All
We
right.
got 2 minutes. And
Well,
we
and-
got to just about everything
Hey,
on
did
the
you
list.
No,
want
we
all-
haven't.
All the other
It's time
stories
for a
we didn't
closing
get to?
argument.
Yeah, closing argument,
Closing
Peter.
argument, Your
Yes.
Honor. And I'd like to close with highlighting some of the hypocrisy of our president.
Please
Okay?
do.
You heard the president just this week talking about how we need to not have any negotiation. We need to raise the debt ceiling, period, end of discussion. Here's what he said when he was a senator. America has a debt problem and a failure of leadership. Americans deserve better. I therefore intend to oppose the effort to increase America's debt limit. Senator Barack Obama, March 16, 2006.
Oh, but that's when there was a Republican in the White
Yes,
House, wasn't it?
And then he
more
criticized
example.
Ted Cruz
Yeah.
for his filibuster.
For being younger and cuter.
Yeah, well,
is
here's what
he
Barack
gets
Obama
him.
said as a senator.
Uh-huh.
Quote, I recognize that in today's media age, being controversial, taking controversial positions, rallying the most extreme parts of your base, whether it's left or right, is a lot of times the fastest way to get attention and raise money. So I guess it was okay then.
It was okay for him. Yeah, and we just put
Okay.
that statement up on the screen. I want to thank everybody for watching and listening to TrentoVision.tv on WNN 1470 AM. Please stay tuned with us tomorrow. Thank you, Peter Feaman. Tomorrow we have
welcome.
Alan Bergstein, and Thursday we have Rabbi Eli Kavon. And
All
we have
these
some
Jews!
Yes, yes. Since the boys are in
Good.
Israel, I thought we could do a couple of Jewish-themed shows while they were gone.
Are you going to sing Hava Nagila?
No.
Okay.
We're going to talk about what's wrong with
Listen,
us.
I'm going to conclude with
with
this.
us American
I'm a
Jewish
committed
people.
Christian, but
Yeah.
I stand on the shoulders of Jewish giants in order to be one. And I
Ouch.
thank my spiritual cousins for that.
Oh, that is beautiful. Thank you. And my last thing that I have to say is a penny saved is a government oversight. Thank you.
Hey,
See you tomorrow.
that's it.